we're ready for the fourth chapter, and it's the last chapter of Wallace and Grace and the Cupcake Caper. Okay? The first chapter was called I Spy, with the word I being I, spy. The second chapter was called Eyewitnesses, or Eyewitness, singular. The third chapter was called Master of Tricky, which is Wallace said he was a master of Tricky. And the last chapter is called Look and See. Okay, and here's the picture to start the chapter. You can see that they're all working. Grace is talking and looking, and there's Wallace, Monty, and Sal all looking hard for clues. Okay, let's get started. I spy something with purple and white swirls, said Grace. Where? Wallace didn't see purple and white swirls in the great woods. Here's a hint, said Grace. Up, not down. I hear a dog eat her. No. Wallace looked up. He still didn't see anything. He was looking all around. Give up? Asked Grace. Never, said Wallace. Wait. Monty bounced on his chipmunk toes and tried to look up. The cupcake's wrapper had purple and white swirls. So there they are in the woods again. Wallace is looking up. Monty's looking up. Grace is talking about it, and so is Sal wondering. No. Pause. Wait for Mama, honey. Okay? Sorry, my little doggy needs to wait just a little longer. She's okay. Well, when Monty announces that the cupcake wrapper had purple and white swirls, Wallace says, You never told us that, Monty. You didn't give all the facts. Oops, my bad. Monty didn't think the color of the cupcake wrapper was an important fact, but it was. That was part of the cupcake, right? That would be something they would need to look for. Well, and now Wallace knew what Grace knew. Ee-yoy, he cried. Find the purple and white swirls and find the thief. Wings in the air. So he's saying, let's take off and fly up to where those purple and white swirls are. And Monty and Sal are kind of frustrated because can they fly up to look and see what they saw up there? No, and they said the two owls flew high up in the sky, and Monty called and said, Hey, we don't have wings. Oh, well, here they go, up high, high, high. Here's Wallace, Grace, and they flew up because they saw purple and white swirls. That looked like a cupcake holder. And who is that? Remember her from earlier in the book? That's Scarlet. I believe she's a cardinal. And remember, she was sitting on her nest. I don't know if you can see, but she had 2 eggs that were about to hatch, and they have hatched. So she has baby birds. Wallace and Grace landed right near Scarlet's nest. Don't bother my baby, said Scarlet. Her 2 eggs had just hatched. You can't keep shooing us away, said Wallace. We know you are the thief. You saw Sal swipe the frosting, said Grace, but then he went back to sleep, and you took the cupcake. You have no proof, said Scarlet. She wasn't going to admit anything, was she? Yes, we do. Wallace pointed to the purple and white swirl cupcake wrapper on her nest. It was woven into the nest. He had seen it earlier. Remember earlier when they looked at her nest? You may not remember, but there was a page where we looked at her nest and we saw a plastic spoon and some other things. I could look back and try to find the picture, but that is very common, and I probably mentioned it then, that when a bird makes a nest, it takes scraps of tree, like anything that might fall from a tree, like a piece of a leaf or something, or a stem from a plant that's kind of dry and flexible. If they see some cloth or hair, sometimes people get a haircut and they dump the hair outside. They might use that to make the nest nice and soft and hold it together. And they find odds and ends, and sometimes they put in things like a piece of wrapping paper or a piece of some things that we would never think of. Here's a picture first sitting on her nest, and he sees the spoon and some other things, and there's that purple and white wrapper, but we didn't know what it was then, right? Because Monty hadn't told everyone. Here's a better picture. That the wrapper was blue and white. That's when the eggs were still unhatched. So just some odds and ends in her nest that she had picked up, and he thought it looked kind of messy, but now he's getting a closer look at it. And they had talked to her, and he wrote down, they talked to Scarlet, that is Grace and Wallace. And Wallace wrote down clue number 4, cupcake wrapper in nest. He wrote in his notebook. Scarlet's face turned red. That means she was embarrassed. I wanted the pretty wrapper, she said, so I ate the cupcake. Why? Asked Wallace. Look and see, asked Grace. She's an artist. Well, here they are all talking together quietly. She kind of puts her wing up and says, I ate the cupcake. Why? Because she wanted this wrapper. I don't know how hungry she was for the cupcake, but she ate it so that she could have the wrapper and stuff it in her nest. At least she finally told the truth, right? Well, Wallace took a closer look at Scarlet's nest, and before he had looked at it, he saw messy earlier in the book. But now he saw amazing. He looked at this picture. You can see in the picture there's a spoon and some kind of, I don't know, string kind of spaghetti. Not spaghetti. Confetti. It looks like spaghetti, but it probably is not. And there's the wrapper and some other little objects all tucked in amongst the twigs and branches and so forth. And he thought it was very creative, a work of modern art. Wow, said Wallace. And then he tugged, it was the shoelace, that's it, I'm sorry. The shoelace was that stringy thing that looked like a piece of confetti or spaghetti. And he's tugged the shoelace with his beak. But, he says, you stole this shoelace from the fox. Remember this fox was missing his shoelace? You stole a lot of things, said Wallace. The babies are cute in there. But he's talking to Scarlet about all the things she took. Well, she said, it was all in the name of art. She hung her head. Sorry. You can't steal, said Wallace. You need to give everything back. Poor Monty, said Grace. She can't give him back his cupcake, right? She can't because she ate it. Yeah. Well, right then, the baby birds began to sing. Wallace had an idea. She can give Monty something else, he said. And a little later, they flew Monty and Sal to the nest. That must have been quite a feat, a trick. That means the two owls one of them put Monty the chipmunk on his back, and the other one put Sal the groundhog on his back and flew them up to the nest. They don't show that picture. You can imagine it. And they say flying was tricky with the chipmunk and groundhog on their backs. And Sal was like, whoa, look, no hands. He's never flown before. And on the way, Grace told Monty that Scarlet was the thief. But she didn't tell him about the surprise that they had planned. So here's a picture. Oh, here, let me read one more sentence. It's a birthday party for the baby birds, cried Grace. And look at the baby birds have little party hats on with their mommy. Yeah, isn't that cute? Very cute. They're singing, cried Monty. And dancing, said Sal. And presents, said Scarlet. And Grace handed Monty the purple and white swirl cupcake wrapper. But it wasn't filled with a cupcake, of course. But it was filled with nuts and berries. Look. And you know what chipmunks really like to eat? They like nuts and berries for sure. And look at his special cupcake holder was filled with nuts and berries. Does he look happy there? Yeah, he is. Yum, cried Monty. I love parties even more than cupcakes. Case solved, said Wallace, and he gave Grace a high five with their wings. 2 cases solved, said Grace. Time for bed. Wallace yawned. Not yet, said Grace. I want another turn. I spy something red. Scarlet's wing? This game was way too easy for Wallace. No, Grace grinned. Wallace looked and looked. I can't find it. Grace had tricked the master of tricky. I need a clue, said Wallace. The back of the clue is in front of you. Grace could be tricky too. Wallace looked closer and then he clapped his wings together. Now I see him. Look at that is a reddish brown, but she's calling it red. Above the bushes, remember who that is? Good detectives follow the clues, said Grace. Always, agreed Wallace. And Wallace and Grace were very good detectives. And there's our little fox friend waving. I'm sure he was glad to hear all the story, and he probably got his shoelace back from Scarlet. And that's the very end. So I hope you enjoyed Wallace and Grace and the Cupcake Caper. See you later.